Hey cousins, happy Thursday. So today's entire episode is actually inspired by me needing to stop and charge my Tesla in the valley here in Los Angeles, when I saw this woman, this black overweight woman, holding up a sign that said "End Police Brutality" in 90-degree weather. And I just thought to myself, something about this woman, she looks familiar because I'm usually not on that side of town often. So I looked her up, and guess what I saw was this article, multiple articles, but this specific one from around 2022.
At the busy intersection of Sepulveda and Ventura Boulevards, amid the constant traffic and sirens, Latora Green starts her day in front of the Sherman Oaks Galleria.
And don't forget to show up tomorrow.
She sets up shop at the corner to stand in peaceful protest. Sometimes she's alone. Other times she's alongside her husband and volunteers
to
support Black Lives Matter and call for systemic change. Pillars of her nonprofit organization, the Valley of Change, launched during the pandemic.
We want equality, that Black lives do matter, end police brutality. Love us. Don't just love our culture, you know? Love us. We're the same as everyone else. Our skin color is just different. That's it. So we're out here to say that Black lives, they matter, you know, every single day.
And Green has been at the corner every single day since May 31st of 2020.
Okay, so she has been there every single day since May 21st, 2020, and that wench is still there. It has been over 5 years, and that woman is still standing there on that street corner protesting for Black Lives Matter nearly every single day, if not every single day. And I got to thinking, what is the difference between being an activist, a protester, and a grifting paid protester? So today we're diving into that discussion, as well as the use of bots to divide our country. You see a lot of people talking about bots, but not enough people actually pointing at some of the receipts. So because if you're unaware, over a third of internet traffic is actually fake and coming from literal computers or bot farms, streaming farms, etc. And it's all for the purpose of dividing our country and making us go crazy. So we'll be getting into that tea. Y'all know the vibes. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Send in your super chats. Welcome to Respectfully. Outline. Okay, so this woman, Miss Latora, is really sitting out here in this brutal heat every single day protesting, and I just can't help but ask, like, what are you actually doing? And I read more into some of the articles about her, and turns out she has made it a full-time job to stand on the street corner, not to sell what most people are selling on the street corner, but for her to sell a different type of way of effing people over. So she has built a whole non-profit just to stand there with that sign, and it's like, congratulations. You've turned your grift into a full-time job. And I don't like using that word too lightly, because I feel like grifter is one of those terms that just gets thrown around all the time, and it's not a grift because I disagree with her. I call it a grift because you are doing nothing productive for society or even for your cause, and you're getting all these donations for it. And while I do believe that she probably does genuinely believe in what she's standing out there for, I also know that she believes that she's just getting a bag to do absolutely nothing, the bare minimum, and to stand there and be lazy. And now I just want to get really into the difference between what is an activist, what is a protester, and what is a paid protester. And the conversation about paid protesters has been very heavy lately, especially with the No Kings protest, the LA riots protest, all the different things that have been going on with people being mad at the administration. And I want to show that Caroline Levitt recently had this to say.
The president said yesterday that paid insurrectionists were behind or involved in the protest in Los Angeles. Does the White House have any more details about who they believe is paying these protesters?
The president spoke about this last night when he returned from Fort Bragg, because frankly the president has a lot of common sense. And if you look at some of the imagery that we have received from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and law enforcement who are on the ground, you will see boxes and boxes of very professionalized masks and rioting equipment being dropped off for these protesters. So it's a good question the president is raising, and one we are looking into, about who is funding these insurrectionists and these rioters and these protesters and these illegal criminals. And I have updates for you on the numbers, by the way. Since June 6th, There have been 330 illegal aliens that have been arrested as part of these riots in Los Angeles.
Deport them all.
113 of those illegal aliens had prior criminal convictions. And
first.
overall, and this includes arrests of American citizens, there's been 157 people arrested for assault and obstruction-related charges, including the attempted murder of a police officer with a Molotov cocktail. So who is funding these illegal aliens who are coming in with this very professional riot gear? It's a question everyone in this room who cares about truth should be asking. And we encourage your help in trying to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, so that's the real tea there. It's not just a matter of who is paying you, because I'm a capitalist. Go get your bag. But what it comes down to is, where are these illegal immigrants who can't even get an ID or their paperwork together? They can't get in line to come get a citizenship, but they can go and get riot gear. I know they're not selling riot gear to that extent on Amazon. So it's like, who is out here organizing all of this chaos? And shout out to Caroline Levitt. Caroline Levitt is so sweet. I had the pleasure of meeting her in person last week when I was in DC, and truly just such a remarkable, intelligent, sweet individual. Give her her flowers. She has one of the hardest jobs in the country, in my opinion. So shout out to her. But back to these wenches, back to these illegal wenches who are always in riot gear, always doing something to get on my nerve and irritate my soul. I want to break down the difference between some of these people. So there's an activist. I would consider myself an activist. I do like activists, even if you're on the other side. I actually respect activists who are on the left as well, because they are people who are actively working towards something that they're genuinely passionate about, whether it's social, political, environmental, any kind of change. They're sustained efforts that are organized, and they're advocating and educating and lobbying, but in a way that is actually productive to their cause more often than not. Their work involves long-term strategies like campaigning and fundraising and building coalitions. That I can respect that. I can respect the organized effort that goes into that, because they're focusing on systemic changes and are working behind the scenes and publicly. Then you have protesters. Protesters, okay, I get it. Not everybody can be an activist. Not everybody can, really put their whole life and dedication into it. A protester is someone who publicly expresses dissent or opposition, typically through direct actions like a march, like going to rallies, like doing boycotts, sit-ins, things like that aren't as organized typically. Like, yes, there's obviously some crossover between the two, but protesters, I am not being paid to protest. Y'all kill me with these photos. So protesters, they tend to be a bit more chaotic and spontaneous, is what I like to say. It's like they get the text message in a group chat saying, hey, we're about to pull up over here and wreak havoc on the highway. You down or not? And of course they're down, because a lot of the times they just don't have jobs. You see a lot more left-wing protests than right-wing protests. Why? Because left-wing people do not work. They do not have jobs. Okay. So they are often joining without any long-term commitment or really even a strategy or a plan. They're just there for the plot more often than not. And again, not necessarily a bad thing. I have enjoyed my fair share of protests. I'm all for a protest as long as it's peaceful. But the people who get to me are these paid protesters. And to clarify earlier too, the woman that I saw in the video earlier that was like the inspiration to this whole thing, I would consider her an activist, even though I think she's a grifter. I definitely think she's a grifter. I will say that she's an actual activist, because like she's about it. She has like, actually, I don't know. No, that's like she's teetering the line, because girl, you ain't doing nothing but holding a sign. At that point, it's just like you're just a one-woman protest, sometimes with your husband, because he probably doesn't have a job either. But when it comes to these paid protesters, they're the individuals that are compensated for the sole purpose of coming to participate in these demonstrations. And they're often there just to amplify or make it seem like more people care about something, even though they might not have anything to do with the cause. They might not even know why they're there. They just might have been walking down the street and get asked to join. And I know that these happen a lot, especially in California, because back when I used to work in family law in the Bay Area, I worked in Walnut Creek on South Main Street. If you know, you know. Every single day there was some kind of protest that's happening out there. And it's always about a different cause. And the funny part is I got to the point where I would recognize some of these protesters. They would be at protests for 1,000 different issues that have nothing to do with each other. And I'm like, oh, this is your full-time job, is to hit this little drum, carry whatever sign they give you. It's like, oh, you're going to protest? What are you protesting today? Oh, you don't know yet? You're going to find out when you get there? That's what it's giving. And I even have a video just of like some receipts of that and kind of what that looks like in a more modern context.
Why do you feel that way?
So
These are all paid protesters. You can get $20 an hour if you wear a T-shirt.
You guys speak up. You guys
She just got recruited, right?
I refuse.
You said no.
No.
It wasn't worth the 20?
No, but like he told me that it's for a Diddy coin, so I'm not really sure what that is. Yeah. Oh, because the lady right there, she just kept convincing me to go wear a shirt, and I'm like, I'm good.
So just $20, and if you need $20, all you have to do is wear a free puff shirt.
A Puff Daddy token.
And you said no.
Yeah, I said no.
Did they say how
No,
many
you're worth
hours?
queen.
$20 an hour. And she told me she got paid like $60 yesterday for standing out here in 3 hours.
Oh my God.
And to me, this woman looks like she has no incentive to lie. So $20 an hour to stand out there wearing a T-shirt saying free Diddy. That is crazy. That is crazy because, first of all, this makes no change. I hate to break it to you. I hate to break it to some of y'all. This does nothing. Standing outside wearing a T-shirt does nothing, okay? So these people, they're just wasting their money. And I don't know who in Diddy's camp or who is like a Diddy simp that is paying for this, but this is a really common thing. And we saw this on a more systemic and like organized level when it came to BLM, for example. And I hate to even talk about BLM anymore because they are so deep in the grave and I hope they stay there. But really, I shouldn't even say that they're fully in the grave because they just rebranded and now they're even less educated and they call themselves Free Palestine. All tea, all shade, and all offense. So when you look at BLM, if you look at the whole track record, if you don't know that story yet by now, it's like BLM circulated a lot of the money that they raised through other nonprofits. And those other nonprofits were either LGBT focused or they were focused on equipping and bailing out protesters. So what I mean by that is a lot of BLM's money, rather than going to black people, rather than going to black businesses, rather than going to victims of police brutality or any sort of reform, most of the money that they actually did spend on people, it was going towards giving people the tools to be chaotic or to make signs, which I don't even know how much I believe in the making signs because when I was in BLM, ghetto to say, when I was in BLM, we definitely were paying for that stuff ourselves or in our local chapters. But on a national level, they were paying to bail out protesters. And I know how real that is because when I went to the encampments that were over at UCLA, shout out to Cam Higbee, we infiltrated the musty encampments that they had over, because you remember UCLA had them, Columbia had them. The first thing that they make you do once you get inside of the encampment is they have you scan a QR code and it gives you all these instructions, all these resources, places to get the things that you want for the protest, as well as instructions for who to call, what numbers to memorize, all this stuff for if you get arrested. So when you do too much, and it almost like the rhetoric of it was like they wanted to encourage you to get arrested. And I wish I screenshotted it, but I didn't want it actually on my phone. I didn't scan the QR code myself. I had somebody else do it and I looked at their phone about it. But I gave all these instructions on what to do if you get arrested. And it was all these hotlines and these people that were funding the encampments because they want to create chaos, because the encampments was still one of the grossest things that came out of last year in the way that they were harassing those Jewish students. So I know for a fact how much effort is put into paying these people to act like they give a damn, basically. It's really disgusting. And as we get closer to real time now with the anti-ICE riots, I do believe, honestly, I will say, I do believe that a lot more of the people that were there for anti-ICE were really about that because they all kind of looked alike. That sounds racist. I didn't mean to say it like that. But what I'm trying to say is there was a whole lot of Latinos out there and Latinas, and I really do feel like it was a family reunion out there, low key. No shade. That's not shady, right, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, I would say easily that it's par for the course. That's what we shall say. It makes sense.
I'm like, I don't want to sound racist. Let me bring in my Mexican friend.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Rodriguez.
Come on now. And then also just, pertaining to the area, you were saying that this was in Los Angeles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then again, it makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. The anti-ICE riots, so I'm giving a little bit of credibility that I really do think that people were out there genuinely. But when it came to the No Kings protests and how insane those protests were, I know for a full fact that so many of the people were out there paid, or they were friends of someone that was getting paid that rallied up their group to go out there and protest. Okay, because I'm not even kidding. The No Kings protest, and if you're not familiar with what that is because you have a job, it was, I think, across the country, there were people who went out, and there was like millions of people in total, I want to say, went out to the streets of whatever cities that they were in. It was huge here in Los Angeles, where they were protesting against Trump, saying that they don't want a king, which to me is so ironic because the entire premise of electing a president means that we are no kings. We are a no kings country. So they were really just wasting their time. And I do think that President Trump got the last laugh on that because he was like, yes, I agree. No kings. Like, thanks for electing me as president. But yeah, this whole thing was a ghetto mess. And the reason why I say it was an economy within itself, I have a video that breaks it down so perfectly, but people were getting between 15 to 25, usually $20 an hour, again, to attend these protests. And here's a guy that broke down some of the receipts that were on Craigslist.
Like people are being paid to promote violence once again. All you got to do is check your local gigs in Los Angeles right now and you'll find plenty of them. Like this ad, for instance, calling liberal activists taking direct action focus group, $250. It goes, are you deeply involved in progressive social activism and passionate about social justice, climate action, anti-capitalism, or community organizing? And for some reason, they're only looking for people from the ages 18 to 30. Can't be an activist if you're over 30. Then you got them getting ready for June 14th. So they're hiring vendors to sell anti-Trump rally merch downtown on Saturday, June 14th. They'll have flags, a large assortment of anti-Trump buttons. You even get a commission. I mean, people, these gigs are everywhere. And these focus groups are not focus groups. I mean, people are literally organizing for this thing right now. And for June 14th, I think they're organizing hate. And right now, especially in America, that is the last thing we need. Well, what do you expect when your own government officials are telling you to fight back when you see somebody getting deported or interfere? I wouldn't interfere. But yeah, these nut jobs are organizing, starting all over again.
Yeah, so like I said, it's an entire economy. It's a full-time job with no benefits. That's what protesting has come to. And to me, that is just like the heist and the grift of a century. Like, you're getting paid to go out and protest something that you have no idea what it is that you're talking about. That to me is hilarious. And in Beverly Hills, you have full-blown firms. I'm not kidding. You can look this up. I'm not going to say their names because you're not getting a free ad out of me. But in Beverly Hills, there are multiple firms that openly hire actors. No joke. They hire actors for protests, rallies, and PR stunts. And more often than not, they have been linked to political campaigns and corporate lobbying. So again, there are entire companies that recruit in these woke people who desperately want to make it in Hollywood to act like they're passionate about an issue, just to amplify and make it seem like the numbers are on their side. Is that not insane? Like, I can't be the only one who thinks that's utterly insane. Okay, that's crazy to me. And, you know, my issue isn't with the people who have the real passion. It's just with the people who are being paid to act this way and create utter chaos all over our country. It's a mess. It is a mess. And now when we talk, you know, just more about the difference between being an activist and a protester, it really makes me think of someone, and like outside of even just like the paid protester grift of it all, it makes me think about Rosa Parks. Because did y'all know that Rosa Parks had a car? For real, Rosa Parks had a car. Her man had a whole foreign at home, and this woman was on the bus. This one was riding the bus. But you know what? I say that facetiously, even though she really did have a car, which is crazy. But the reason that Rosa Parks was on that bus, it was intentional. I don't know if this is common knowledge. It's the truth. It's history. But I feel like more often than not, when I've asked people if they're familiar with the real story of Rosa Parks, they think that Rosa Parks was just crashing out one day and she's like, oh no, you ain't sending me to the back of this bus. No, like it was a very organized effort. Rosa Parks was already a full-blown activist. The woman who acted defiantly and was essentially protesting was a woman named Claudette Colvin. Okay, so a lot of people don't know Claudette's story. So this woman, she definitely leans left, but I like the way she explains it. Here's a video on TikTok of just giving the real backstory of what happened with Rosa Parks and who is Claudette Colvin.
Claudette Colvin. Claudette Colvin said F you to segregation, gave up her seat, and got arrested 9 months before our girl Rosa did. She felt that Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman were keeping her in her seat. I also imagined them doing this to the white lady and bus driver who told her to move. Yeah. So why haven't you heard of her? Claudette was just a teenager at the time, and she wasn't seen as responsible enough for the NAACP to popularize her case. Claudette was also darker skinned. Oh my gosh, y'all look, it's colorism.
She's kind of
the divide in the black community again. Yeah, girl, you know the usual. Well, girl, let me tell you something. First of all, you're nothing but a trashy hoe. Second of all, you suck. After they decided not to pursue her case, Claudette also found out she was pregnant, which persuaded people more that she wasn't the right face.
So Claudette did all that for nothing, huh?
Can you leave? Damn. Ain't nobody want you here. Bye. During this time, Rosa Parks happened to be a leader in the NAACP and got in contact with Claudette, made her go to meetings and tell her story to the youth. So when it came time for Rosa not to give up her seat, there's no doubt homegirl was thinking of Claudette.
Shout out to Claudette and shout out to Rosa. This is not at all to discredit either of them. I just want to kind of give the difference between what is an activist and what is a protester. Okay. Claudette had enough. And there's a couple other stories that are similar that happened around her time, but Claudette was really the catalyst of what led to the Montgomery bus boycott. And this is just the history that I feel like is not taught accurately in school. Y'all tell me in the comments if I'm tripping. I feel like my school never, ever, ever, ever once did they talk about Claudette. Okay, going to public school, they definitely failed. They made it seem like Rosa Parks was crashing out, was defying authority, and was just like, you know what? I'm a strong, independent black woman, and I don't need to go to the back of the bus because you white folks ain't about to tell me what to do. That's not what Rosa did. That's what Claudette did. No shade. She did what she had to do. She stood on that business. I'm here for it. Shout out to Claudette. But Rosa, being like this beacon of the story, being this hero, being this catalyst in the civil rights movement, I think that it would have helped black people to know the real story of what happened with Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks' story was not just this defiant emotional fit. It was a calculated, well-constructed effort to get things done. She was handling business. She was a real activist. She was working with the NAACP. I believe it was NAACP before they became super woke. Like, she was doing what needed to be done. Okay, because nowadays you don't just have the activists and the protesters. You don't just have people who are actually organized and trying to create change and lead a cause and lead real economic and political changes in their society. You just have people who are either activists, protesters, or just want a quick buck. And they want the social clout so that they can take their little $20 and a case of Powerade as an incentive to go wreak havoc. It's a ghetto mess. It's an exhausting ghetto mess. And I wish that when people look at these pioneers of the civil rights movement and they looked at them like, oh, I want to go out there and be like Rosa. Because I will say, when I was marching for BLM, I was so proud of myself because I thought I was doing similar work to what the activists back in the day were doing. I thought it was like something that they would be proud of me for doing. But some elements of it, I'm sure they would be. But other elements, like getting $20 in a Powerade to go stand outside in that heat, holding up a sign saying end police brutality, girl, you ain't moving no needle. You're doing nothing. If anything, you're just annoying everybody and you probably sweat a lot and you stank. That's all you're doing. Wreaking havoc. John Legend. Oh, thank you, John. And just here gave a super chat for support. Oh, let's read those super chats.
It literally wasn't a message. One was just for support.
Oh, just for support.
And then one
shout
was,
out to y'all.
It was so funny. One's like a Shiba Inu dog, like painting a picture, and then it shows the picture and it says number one.
Number one. Yep. Can everybody hear you too, Miss Rodriguez, or just me in my ear?
Oh, they can hear me too.
Oh, shout out to Miss Rodriguez. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, John Legend, and just here now, or just here for now. Y'all are always here, and I really appreciate y'all. So now I want to talk about these bots a bit because a lot of you are literally just arguing with robots. And like I said in the intro, if you weren't here, over a third of internet traffic is fake. And that's really a conservative number for it because Imperva, I believe is how you say it, Imperva in 2023 reported that 47% of internet traffic is actually bots. It's robots. It's streaming farms, kind of like SZA and Kendrick Lamar and Travis Scott and Cardi B's numbers on Spotify. But that's discourse for another day. But that being said, I want to show you a visual representation of what some of these bot farms look like because they come in all different types of like shapes and sizes. But here is a very literal streaming farm. Do we have the video? Yeah. Like, this is crazy. So bot farm targeted for post-engagement inflation, where you see hundreds, if not thousands of phones all over the room, an entire room dedicated to boosting social engagement and making it seem like people are more popular than they actually are. So this is something that happens in a range of industries. This happens in the music industry, which is something Nicki Minaj has been exposing. This happens in the political discussion where they're trying to inflate, making it seem like certain ideas are more popular than they actually are. And this really explains why there are certain narratives that seem to be really popular and prevalent online, but when you go out and you meet people in person, nobody's actually talking about it. Nobody feels that same sentiment. Nobody keeps that same energy in person. Why? Because real people aren't saying that. And these bots, like, there's different kinds, of course, and like a lot of it's getting even worse because of AI, but a lot of these bots are designed to attack certain people who put out different ideas. You see it happening in the whole Israel-Palestinian feud. You see it all the time. And this isn't something that's new at all. This has been going on for a long time. And it made me think back to, I believe this was in 2021, where shout out to Rob Schmidt over at Newsmax. He exposed what China was doing when it came to the political division, the racial political division that was happening in our country all throughout the pandemic.
And he's actually brought up Black Lives Matter, which may seem random to you, but trust me, it should not.
The challenges facing the United States in human rights are deep-seated. They did not just emerge over the past 4 years, such as Black Lives Matter.
You see, China loves to bring up racial unrest in our country because they are actively promoting it. In fact, China is funding BLM. It's a proud partnership. Here's an article from our friends at the Heritage Foundation. The article talks about Alicia Garza, one of BLM's co-founders, a woman who wants to see this country destroyed and rebuilt under the tenets of Karl Marx. China knows what a cancer this is for our society. Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization. Its goals are rooted in upending democracy and capitalism. Black social justice is just a convenient vessel that these people are using. They don't care about this stuff. Everybody with a brain knows that.
Everybody with a brain knows it. But a lot of y'all don't have brains, at least in it in 2020, myself included. Had to whack myself on that one. But I mean, it's true. In 2020, if you didn't know, a big reason why BLM became as popular as it did, and a big reason why the truth was suppressed, is because of China's influence. China has been trying to demoralize and destabilize our nation in many different ways, whether it's the TikTok algorithm, whether it's boosting the engagement on posts on Instagram, especially on Twitter. Like, all of that was going on. We don't even have to talk about the flu's niece that they put over here, but they were doing all these things to create civil unrest in our country so that we would all start beefing with each other. And the thing is, it worked. Okay. It very much worked. BLM was very hyperinflated from the go because of China. China saw it as an opportunity to have us divided. And you know what they always say, you divide and conquer. When we're all feuding with each other, we're not even watching what these other countries are doing and how they're developing and all the different strategies that they're taking to demoralize our society. And as you probably still feel to this day, there's a lot of relationships, a lot of families torn apart because of BLM, because of the narratives that are spread online. And it's not just China. There's a lot more countries that have been caught doing this. You know, Iran, for example, in 2024, U.S. intelligence and tech companies like Microsoft and OpenAI identified Iranian operatives running disinformation campaigns throughout the United States presidential election. And these included fake news sites. They created entire fake news sites like Savannah Time and NeoThinker, which posed as legitimate U.S. media to spread divisive content. And then you had Iranian, is it Iranian or Iranian? I don't know. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Iranian actors also hacked voter databases in 2020. They were sending intimidating emails to Democratic voters while posing as far-right groups like the Proud Boys. And I'm not saying that the Proud Boys are innocent by any means, but what I am saying is that a lot of the messages that people got and the threats that people received, they thought it was from the Proud Boys, but it wasn't. It was actually from Iran, which is crazy. They're weaponizing these groups that are already pretty far and making it seem like they're significantly further because as we all know, weaponizing fear is one of the biggest tactics to getting your point across or to manipulating society. Excuse me. And then even more recently, you know, additionally with all the stuff with the 2024 anti-Zionist protests, Iran has been caught multiple times posing online as activists and providing financial aid to protesters. And like I said earlier, the Free Palestine stuff that was going on when I went over to the UCLA encampments, you know, there were a lot of very grown, very Middle Eastern men that were there who barely spoke any English. I don't know where they came from or what part of the Middle East they came from, but all I know is a lot of them are in cahoots because they're all anti-Israel, because they're all anti-democracy and Western society. So Iran has been caught. You know, there's a lot of people that allege that Qatar is part of that too, which is something I'm actively researching to figure out just how involved Qatar is, because I'm still trying to figure that out. But you for sure have Russia that has been very, very well documented in the history of them using bots to meddle in U.S. politics. If you remember back in 2016, the Russia-linked Internet Research Agency deployed thousands of fake social media accounts to amplify divisive issues, especially regarding race, immigration, and gun rights. And they were targeting both sides of the spectrum. Now, Russia was interesting because they were pissing off both sides intentionally. Russia was going out of their way to have both the left and the right mad at things that both sides weren't even actually saying. And then they were heavily promoting certain hashtags like hashtag take a knee, hashtag boycott NFL during the NFL kneeling protests to inflame the tensions and to make both sides seem mad at each other. It made it seem like people on the right were boycotting the NFL, which barely anybody was actually doing. It was making it seem like everybody was taking a knee, which probably more people were doing, but it was hyperinflated by Russia. And then you had recently in 2024 where these, again, Russian-linked bots were caught spreading fake videos, including one falsely accusing a U.S. politician of ending the lives and endangering rhinos, like not like Republican in name only, but like actual like rhinoceros. And there was a video that ended up going viral that was completely fake, and it got 5 million views on Twitter in under 24 hours. That is insane. That's absolutely insane. But what accountability was there? None. And then in 2025, there's a report from the Network Contagion Research Institute that claims that Russia was running bot armies that were posing as MAGA supporters to the right, or to make the right look like we were spreading disinformation. So again, to clarify, there was another organization that was linked to Russia that was posing as right wingers so they could spread misinformation intentionally. And then when they would get caught and clocked and fact checked and all these different things, it's like, oh, the right spreading misinformation. Nobody on the right was spreading that information. They were fake accounts. They were bots. And then when people on the right were seeing it, they're like, huh, interesting. Then it like accidentally like got infiltrated into our sources and it just became a whole thing. But Russia, we see you, Russia. We've caught you many times. We've also caught them. The FBI has actually caught them for having an entire bot farm and using AI to make these fake personas and all these different narratives. We continuously see these nations that are clearly our adversaries using bots to get us to all be against each other. So when you spend all your hours online arguing with bot accounts, just know a lot of the times you're sitting there debating robots. A lot of the times when you are arguing back and forth with these anonymous accounts with an anime profile picture, sometimes it's some loser that's in his basement that refuses to ever leave. And more often than not, according to these stats, over a third of the time, you are arguing with a literal robot that is insane. And all this to say that with as much chaos and with all the chaos and the division that we have in our country, it is created by some main key players. It's created by Marxists, it's created by foreign adversaries, and it's created by people broke enough to take a check to fight for a cause that they know nothing about and they do not even believe in. In other words, all that for $20 and a pack of Powerade. Thank you, cousins, for tuning in for another episode of Respectfully. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next week.